Okay, this lesson went very well. Third hour. It is, as I said, the hardest lesson. We're going to find the nth roots of complex numbers, and this is our formula. If z is equal to r times cosine of theta plus I sine of theta, then we know that w sub k, or z to the 1nth, is equal to r to the 1 over n times cosine of theta plus 2 pi k over n plus I sine of theta plus 2 pi k over n, where k equals 0, 1, 2, dot, 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 n minus 1. So that might be a formula you want to write down, and it might be one you want to add to your notes. It looks like a lot. It kind of is. But I hope that after we do 2 examples that you're going to find that it's really not that bad. Back hurts. This hurts to... No, I know what I did. I strained muscle. It's not like I got a disc out of place or something. Just strained muscle. Yep. Everybody got it? So here's the big question we're trying to answer today. As you look at question number 6, it says find the third roots of negative 27i. And what that means is, what do you multiply by itself 3 times to get negative 27i? Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, times negative 3 is negative 27, but we need negative 27i. 3i is correct. However, what are the other 2 solutions? There are 3 total. And so it becomes quite challenging. And so what we have to do is we will resort to first placing it into trigonometric form. Okay? Trigonometric form. So let's do that first. Trigonometric form is like this. We have to decide what r is, and we have to decide what theta is. And so we have the number 0 minus 27i. How do we compute r? It's 27. Right? Theta. What do I set up? B over A, or undefined. Where's tangent undefined? Ninety and 270. Which spot is this? Is this 90 or 270? 270. How do you know that? Negative 27i is going to be over 0 units on the real axis and down 27 units on the imaginary axis. So it's easy to see that the r value is 27. Theta will be 270, or in radians, 3 pi over 2. Good. So therefore, the trigonometric form of the complex number is 27 times the cosine of 3 pi over 2 plus I sine of 3 pi over 2. If you cannot put complex numbers into trigonometric form, you're behind. Okay, that's a skill that after Thursday we want to have mastered. All right. In order to proceed, we must identify 2 very important variables. N will be whatever root number we're trying to find. So what will n be in this scenario? 3. k will be all the whole numbers that are less than n, less than or equal to n minus 1. So what is n? 3 minus 1 is, so therefore k will be 0, 1, and 2. How many k values do I have? Which matches with n. So therefore, suppose, don't write this down, but suppose n was 5. What would the k values be? Suppose n was 496. And k would be 0, 1, 2, right? Everybody got that? Okay, so there are no questions on n or k. So now we set it up. It says w sub k. K. W will be our root. So the w sub 0 root, and then we'll do the w sub 1 root, and the w sub 2 root. Okay? Is equal to, and now I just go straight to my formula. What is r? 27 to the 1 over n. 1/3 times the cosine of, what is theta? Pi over 2 plus 2 times pi times k. What is our k value? 0. So 2 times pi times 0 will be 0 over, what is n? 3. Plus I sine of, notice how sine is going to be the same thing. Yep. And, we can actually save a little bit of space. Then what is 3 pi over 2 plus 0? 3 pi over 2. Over. Awesome. Let's simplify. What is 27 to the 1/3? 3 times the cosine of, what is 3 pi? So we have 3 pi over 2 divided by 3. Pi over 2. So if you didn't see that, 3 pi over 2 times 1/3. The 3's would cancel, leaving us with pi over 2. Plus I sine of pi over 2. I don't have to do the work again. I know that they're the same. This is what we would call trigonometric form. You must leave your answer in trigonometric form, but also complex form. And it's really quite easy. What is the cosine of pi over 2? 0, right? What's the sine of pi over 2? 1. Let's distribute. 3 times 0. 0. 3 times I. That is a complex form. So, as you can see, Sean said right away that one of the solutions would be 3i. This is the trigonometric form. This is the complex form. The complex form will not always reduce that nicely. After you see one example, the rest follow suit. Actually, pretty similarly. Instead of finding w sub 0, now we move on to w sub 1. And the r value never changes, so we still have 27 to the, which will give us 3, times the cosine of 3 pi over 2. At this time, our k value is, so 2 times pi times 1 is 2 pi, divided by 3, plus I sine of 3 pi over 2 plus, yeah, let's save some space here. If I'm going to add those together, what do I have to find? Common denominators. What's, instead of 2 pi, I could write it as 4 pi over 2. So we want to simplify that. 27 to the 1/3 is times the cosine of. So 3 pi over 2 plus 4 pi over 2 is 7 pi over 2. 7 pi over 2 divided by 3, 7 pi over 6. This is trigonometric form. We are also going to place it in complex form. In order to do so, I have to decide, does 7 pi over 6, does that angle measurement, is it on the unit circle for us? Yes. In fact, if you took 7 pi over 6, multiply it by 180 over pi to convert it back to degrees, what's 180 over 6? 30 times 7, 210. So you can see that you have what type of angle made? 40, 60, 90 triangle. What is the terminal point of that angle? Negative, or the 3 over 2, negative 1 half. So therefore, we now know these exact values. What is the cosine of 7 pi over 6? What is the sine of 7 pi over 6? Negative 1 half. If we just multiply our 3 through, we get negative 3 root 3 over 2 minus 3 over 2 pi. This is not trigonometric form. This is complex form. Aim for the day. What does that mean? What did we find? If you were to multiply it, how many times? 3 times. What should you come up with? Negative 27i. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous to think that that multiplies out like that. I dare you to sit down and multiply that out 3 times and try to come up with that negative 27i. Yeah. Yes, you can, but we prefer to write it in the form of a plus bi. That way you know what the real part is. That way you know what the imaginary part is. So I would encourage you to leave it like that. Let's do our last one, and then we'll do a problem from your homework together. W sub 2. I still have 27 to what power? 1/3. So that doesn't change. Times the cosine of what's theta? 3 pi over 2 plus 2 pi k. What is k? K is 2. So it'll be 2 pi times 2, which is 4 pi. Let's take 4 pi and write it so we can add it to 3 pi over 2. You would get 8 pi over 2. What is 3 pi over 2 plus 8 pi over 2? 11 pi over 2. And what is 11 pi over 2 divided by 3? 11 pi over 6. That's what you would call trigonometric form. Eleven pi over 6, is that on our unit circle? Yep, it is. How many degrees is 11 pi over 6? 330. So what kind of triangle do you have? What is the terminal point of that one? Very good. So now we can find the complex form. Three times. What's the cosine of 11 pi over 6 after looking at our circle that we made? Root of 3 over 2. We can go ahead and distribute our 3. You get 3 roots of 3 over 2 minus 3 over 2 pi. And that is our complex form. So there are 3 solutions. 3 roots of 3 over 2 minus 3 halves I. Negative 3 roots of 3 over 2 minus 3 halves I. And 3i. Take any of those, multiply by themselves 3 times, and you will come up with negative 27i. Yes. I would like it in both the trigonometric form and then take it and simplify it to complex form. Not necessarily. We did third roots, so I might ask you square root. And in that case, you would only have a couple. So let's take out a sheet of paper you're going to do your assignment on. We're going to do problem number 75 from your assignment right now. Wow. Okay, it says find the square roots of 4 roots of 3 plus 4i. This one's actually going to go just slightly easier than the last one, I believe. But still a good problem, and it's one from your assignment. So let's give it a shot. First things first is to place this into trigonometric form. I find r, and what else? Theta. How do I find r? Square it up. What do you get when you square that? 16 times 3 is 48. Okay. All right. 4 squared. So what is the r value? 8. Now we will solve tangent of theta is equal to some of you have that memorized. You know where tangent is equal to 1 over the root of 3, which is root of 3 over 3. Should be at how many degrees? Never mind, nobody has it memorized. So you would make your circle. Where is tangent positive? First, and are we talking about the first quadrant here or the third quadrant? First. Why the first? So you're going over and up. Good, so I could get rid of this one. So then you go to your handy-dandy calculator, and you press on, and we go to mode, and we work in degrees so we can figure out exactly what this is. There we go. Tangent inverse of 1 divided by the root of 3. Come up with 30. We come up with 30 degrees. What is 30 degrees in radians? Pi over 6. So theta is pi over 6. What is then the trigonometric form of this complex number? What is your n value? 2. What are the k values? Yay, we only have to do it twice this time. Can somebody tell us why it's 2? Do that again, Kel. Yeah, it was great. All right. W sub 0 is equal to 8 to the what power? 1/2 times the cosine of theta is pi over 6 plus 0 over 2 plus I sine of pi over 6 over 2. What is 8 to the 1/2 power? 2 roots of 2. It means the square root of 2, square root of 8, right? Which can be reduced to 2 roots of 2. What is pi over 6 divided by 2? Pi over 12. No, it's an excellent day. You're answering questions. Thank you for doing so. This is trigonometric form. Promise you won't yell at me. Brooke, promise. Is there somebody who will promise you not to yell at me? Thank you, Jack. Okay. Jack, is pi over 12 a value that we know on our unit circle? No, it isn't. But using what we know about last unit, could you find pi over 12 by using a half angle formula? Yes, you could. But we will not do that. Exactly. Thank you. So I then the third hour, I said, is there anybody out there who just feels like, you know what? It's not an exact value like the root of 3 over 2 that we could just easily find, but we could use our half angle formula to find it. I said, is there anybody who just kind of has that inner desire inside where you want to find it? And one hand went up. So student will remain unnamed. No. So here's what we will do. We will simply just distribute through and come up with a number. So as I have radians, I now have, these are radians, right? So I will distribute 2 roots of 2 through and come up with my complex number. So we'll just write it as a decimal. 2 roots of 2 times the cosine of pi divided by 12. I get 2.73. So if it is not a multiple of pi over 6, I won't make you come up with the exact value. Okay? Pi over 12 is in radians. I only use the degree thing in order to come up with that previously. And then we'll do the same thing. I'm going to press entry. What's the only thing I need to change up here in order to sign? So I go back and I get sign. And I get 0.73. So plus 0.73i. That means if you were to take 2.73 plus 0.73i and multiply it by itself, you would come up with 4 roots of 3 plus 4i. That is your complex form. Trigonometric form, complex form. What do we now need to find? W sub 1. Does the 8 to the 1/2 change? So it's just 2 roots of 2 times the cosine of pi over 6 plus 2 pi k, which would be 2 pi, all over 2 plus I sine of, let's see, let's try to figure that out. 13 pi over 6. Nice job. So this would be 12 pi over 6 plus pi over 6 is 13 pi over 6. What is 13 pi over 6 divided by 2? Thirteen pi over 12. Nice job, man. So 13 pi over 12, that's 195 degrees. Is that an angle value that we know the exact terminal point for? Could we figure it out? Yes. If you're really interested, you want to cover that exact value because you just kind of had that itchy feeling inside, then you could. But I won't require it. So 2 roots of 2 times the cosine of 13 pi divided by 12. I get negative 2.73. If I do the same thing, but instead of cosine, I use sine, I get negative 0.73. Question? Good. I'll answer that question right now. This is trigonometric form. This is complex form. So if you have 8 to the 1/2, that is the same thing as square root of 8. There you go. Boys and girls, I've saved you a little bit of time on your assignment. Your assignment starts with problem 76. And for 76, it's not find the square roots of this, it's find the third roots of this. So can you use this trigonometric form right here? Yes. What changes here? N is 3 and K would be, yeah. So you can't, are you going to get 2.73 as a result? No, you're not, because this 2 is going to change to a 3. So you got to make the changes, but I've saved you a little bit of time. Thank you, Mr. Gens. You're welcome very much, class. Okay, so here you go. So again, like I told you at the beginning of the year, this is kind of an exciting day because you actually find out, what is the square root of, say, 5i? What the heck is it? You figure that out today. Kind of fun.